Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about Warcraft re-reforged. There's been some rumors, speculation that Blizzard may be looking to actually fix the many problems that Warcraft re-reforged does have. Doesn't mean that they'll actually do it, or are they going to leave it to rot? We don't know. We do have Microsoft's track record, specifically their track record with Age of Empires 2, where they did put quite a bit of effort over the years to improve that game and then release a definitive edition, and it does have a pretty solid online community. Warcraft re-reforged does not. If I go over here to custom games right now, there are a number of them. A lot of them Legion Tower Defense, and I think the Legion Tower Defense of Warcraft 3 is probably the best version out there. And some Dota and all that, but not really a lot of games. And then there is the Versus, the multiplayer community, which is also pretty dead and pretty lackluster. So things are not good right now for Warcraft re-reforged, but that doesn't mean things couldn't be good for Warcraft re-reforged. That doesn't mean they couldn't put in the effort and time and energy required to make it work. And look, Microsoft has shown their intentions in the past. They helped revitalize Age of Empires 2, though that game never had a completely dead community, to be very clear on this, but they did revitalize it in a major way. And they did release a really good definitive edition with new campaigns and new graphics and pretty solid performance. Blizzard's Warcraft re-reforged has been an utter disaster. Just looking at this main menu, just consider this main menu compared to the Frozen Throne one that we had before. The multiplayer, bare bones. You don't have ranked mode, you don't have ladder, you don't have clans. The chat is crap, to say the least. We also are missing custom campaigns. We don't have that, which is actually a problem because there's a number of modders that are still working on custom campaigns for Warcraft 3, including the Chronicles of the Second War and Warcraft 3 re-reforged, where a team of modders is doing the work that Blizzard should have done to begin with for the Warcraft 3 campaign. Now, it's not perfect. Mods will never be perfect, but they are putting in the effort to try and give us what we should have gotten for practically a full price game, which is what Reforged pretty much was in many ways. It was a full price game. That's the reason it wasn't a simple remaster. It was a way for them to nickel and dime people. But just starting with this menu, let's talk about what they should do with Warcraft re-reforged. Well, this menu needs to go. Take it out, throw it out the window, and start over, because this menu just runs really badly. Even though it's telling me that I'm getting 260 FPS here, the performance just, I don't know, it feels clunky, it feels slow, even though it isn't really slow. It's the animation quality, the way this is designed, and the performance here can be pretty terrible. By the way, this is without any mod or any kind of graphical enhancement. This is just how the game looks. Now, usually when I play a game these days, I use a filter like this, a clarity filter specifically. It's simply a clarity filter, not everyone appreciates it. I turned it on for a second there, I turned it off here. But this is how the game looks. And it isn't great for a game to look like this. Now, does Blizzard care? Does Activision care? No. The only thing we can hope for is for Microsoft to actually give a damn. The problem with Warcraft re-reforged is they didn't change the engine. They used the same engine as before, and they added on top of it, which means that the game just ends up running pretty badly. In fact, they took quite a few features, so it's the worst situation imaginable, because they took some features away, and then they added a bunch of things on a very old engine that was already struggling in this day and age. Warcraft 3 has struggled for years with modern computers or with large-scale maps. If you play a 24-player match in Warcraft 3, it is not going to be a good time. Now, part of it, a lot of people have old computers, but part of it is the engine itself that this game is based on is just very outdated, and instead of changing it, what they ended up doing is they just added new graphics, new models specifically on top of it, but they kept a lot of things the same. Now, For some reason, my campaigns have been removed over here. I completed all the campaigns on Reforged. But I also want to go into a mission, the very first mission of the human campaign, the Scourge of Lordaeron. And I want to talk about the problems that do exist from a graphical standpoint and a performance standpoint. And I'm just going to show you this. And then I'll show you this exact same mission as done by the Warcraft 3 re-reforged team. The guys who are redoing the campaigns in Warcraft 3 Reforged to give us the experience we should have had from the very beginning. Now this looks pretty bad, doesn't it? Like the shadows aren't there, the graphics... I mean, there's new models, but there's a lighting engine and a graphical engine behind that that just doesn't look all that great. And these cinematics, this map, in large part, with the exception of a couple of minor things, is the exact same thing that we got so many years ago with the launch of Warcraft 3. Almost completely unchanged. A few model changes like Minag, all that. A few minor things, and obviously the new models. But the new models, they look great in their own right, but there's a couple of issues with these models. One is an animation issue that people have noticed. And the reason behind that animation issue, according to Blizzard, is that they were trying to make it so the animations would match between classic mode and reforged mode, and it just ended up looking like absolute ass as a result of it. And they sacrificed quite a lot, so the animation quality is bad. Another thing that's also bad is the portraits here, the unit portraits, which are a pretty big deal in Warcraft 3. The Warcraft 3 Classic mode, or the Warcraft 3 portraits, were so expressive in many ways that custom campaign designers were able to tell pretty compelling stories and make them work using those portraits. Now, we do have better leap sync, but look at this footman. He is not really expressive in any way, shape, or form when he's talking. His lips are moving, but nothing else. And this is something that you do see with a lot of portraits. I mean, Arthas is a pretty bad defender. There are some portraits where this is better, but there's a lot of bad portraits as well. And on top of the fact that they've slapped new models and graphics on an old engine with the same old lighting system, shadow system, and so on. Like, this is on max settings. Make no mistake on this. This is on the highest possible settings that I can get in game. There is a mod that will improve these aspects, but that comes with some significant performance cost because you're still adding stuff on top of it. By the way, NVIDIA GeForce Experience is telling me that I'm getting 179 FPS in the game here. Right now it's dropping to 140, but it certainly doesn't feel like 140, 170 FPS. It feels a lot less than that, because I've played other games and you can tell the difference here. I don't feel that, and I do have a monitor right now, at least at this moment, that does support 170 FPS, and I can tell you I am not feeling the difference in this game with that FPS. I'm here to help, even though I should. And another thing, by the way, with the lighting, is the portraits, the models might look fine, but the lighting is just plain terrible. The shadows, the lighting quality in general is just not good at all. So we paid full price for a game that had stripped down features in multiplayer, that didn't work quite well with the maps that already existed, that destroyed in many ways or significantly diminished the custom gaming community for Warcraft 3, because it has been significantly diminished. There are still people playing maps, tower defenses, and all that. I play Warcraft 3, Legion Tower Defense, but that's the only thing I play in Warcraft 3. But because I like that particular version of the map. But the things if people are enjoying Warcraft 3 right now, they're enjoying it in spite of Reforged, not because of it. There's very little that Reforged adds, and even the things that they do add, like the models, just don't work because they don't have the engine to support it, and there's many problems with it. Fight for Lordaeron. Get your swords. And the campaign maps, there's only a handful of missions that are redone, but the only one I'd say that is actually good is the Calling of Stratholme. And it's kind of a shame, because with the Calling of Stratholme mission in Reforged, we can see what they could have done. It's not perfect. Let me be clear. It isn't a perfect mission, but it is obviously a really solid one that's redoing the map, resetting things, and or rather taking that map and putting it similar to how Stratholme is in World of Warcraft. Now, I'm going to quit this mission, and I'm going to load the re-reforged version, the modded version of this mission made by the re-reforged team, just to show you what Blizzard should have done and what Microsoft should do. Or if Microsoft isn't going to redo the campaigns, that's okay, that's crap as well, to be clear. But at least give the people that are going to put that effort, like the re-reforged team, because they will do it eventually. It's going to be an enormous effort, but they will do at least in part. At least give them the tools. Like, we don't have custom campaigns, and that's a major issue, because we have to go to custom games and single player and load each mission individually. Otherwise, we can't play them. And the problem is here with difficulty, because we can't set it to hard from this. We have to open the editor and set it to hard if we want to play, or easy if we want to play on other difficulties past normal. But let me just load this mission from the re-reforged team, and you can see the difference. Just starting up.
Welcome, Prince Arthas. The men and I are honored by your presence.
Can the formalities, Uther. I'm not king yet. It's good to see you.
You too, lad. I'm pleased that King Terran has sent you to help me.
Father still hopes your patience and experience might rub off on me.
Well, it is a father's right to dream, isn't it?
Look, here's where we stand. Our scouts have confirmed that there is an orc encampment hidden somewhere over the next ridge.
As I suspected.
It gets worse. They're preparing to attack the nearby village of Stronbrad. As far as we know, the village is completely defenseless.
I need to move against the orcs' base immediately. Can you handle Stronbrad's defense on your own?
Of course, Uther. Don't worry about me.
Good. Meet me at the orc camp once you've saved the village. Be careful, Arthas.
And right off the bat with that cinematic, we can see things are different, but they are very, very different. You have the camp here, the starting one, you have the intro cinematic, you have the terrain being changed in a pretty substantial way as well on the map, but it's still, here's the crucial aspect, it still feels like the same map, it still feels like the same mission we played in Warcraft 3 all those years ago, even if there are updates and improvements. Substantial ones at that in terms of the gameplay. And forget the cinematic, we're talking here the gameplay. It makes it a joy to play. This is what I wanted to experience and what a lot of people wanted to experience.
Certainly.
Or something similar to this. And by no means is this perfect. It isn't perfect. I dislike the boss battles. I dislike some of the decisions that they do with this mod. But compared to what we got by default, this is an enormous improvement. It feels much better, but here's the problem. Because of the engine limitations, because of the low effort that Blizzard put in general with this game, with this version of Warcraft 3 Reforged, it still drags it on. I'm sure you noticed in that cinematic an FPS drop at one moment when it was panning over Strandbrand. And that's because of the engine, not because of the mod, not because of anything the mod does, not because of anything the custom campaign. The custom campaign here is just a file. It's just a map file done in the Warcraft 3 editor, something that they've put together. The editor has always been a powerful tool. That's why Dota was created through that editor, well, along with some other modifications, but that editor, incredibly powerful, potent tool.
Of course.
And yet,
Welcome to our village.
everything they did in Warcraft Reforged, the decisions they made, the low effort that they put into it, the mistakes, the mistakes that they were made, all of them drag this game down. And this is one of the most influential games actually ever released in some ways, because it set the base for World of Warcraft.
For honor.
And it's a game that defined an entire generation of gamers in quite a lot of ways.
Take everything, man.
And that's something that people should... and that's something that the new generation of gamers should also get to experience in a proper form. Now, if Microsoft doesn't want to redo the campaigns, which to be clear would be a significant effort, but if they don't want to redo the campaigns, fair on them. But give the people that are trying to redo those campaigns, give them the power
I'm here to help.
Give them the power to actually do it in proper fashion. Update the engine, update the performance, make things better.
You are past redemption.
And look, there might have to come a point where people who own Warcraft 3 can play together with people who own Warcraft 3 Reforged. If that's what's necessary to make it work, do so. If that's the cost, do so. But after you fix it, but fix the bloody problems that this game has. The engine issues, the performance issues. And this is single player. In multiplayer, performance is a lot worse. It's worse in 1v1 matches, it's worse in custom games of any kind of description. And there's other things as well that they should do. The UI, right? The UI should be improved, maybe shrunk a bit. There's a Chinese mod that does a lot of things that Warcraft 3 Reforged should have done in terms of UI, in terms of graphics, in terms of shadows, etc. But again, it tanks the performance, as I've said before. Another thing is being able to select more than 12 units. That's coded in, it can't be changed. They said at one point during the development of Reforged that they might allow people to select more than 12 units, at least for custom games, not 1v1 games, which would be such a major quality of life for custom games and custom campaigns. But we don't have that. At some point, I feel like they cared, or they were gonna do a lot of things. They promised us they would do a lot of things, and they fell flat. But these are the kind of things: performance, engine, updates to animations, updates to these portraits, many of which actually look absolutely terrible. Updates to the animation quality on those portraits. And a better way, by the way, to implement lip syncing, because it's actually a major effort if you want to implement lip syncing in, say, a custom campaign. It requires quite a lot of time and effort because of the crappy way they did it in Reforged. So those are the kind of things we need to see changes for when it comes to Warcraft 3 Reforged. And then we can talk about the balance issues. Like it was hilarious to see Blizzard updating a balance patch for Warcraft 3 Reforged when the game was not workable. Like that was like so hilarious. I mean, it's also kind of sad though, because before the launch of Warcraft 3 Reforged, Blizzard did actually implement certain quality of life changes to Frozen Throne, like 24-player maps and the like. Cross-realm play. Let's not forget that aspect, by the way. Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne had cross-realm play, so you could play with people. If you chose to play in North America, you could still play with people in like, let's say you started, or you choose to play in Europe, you could play with people from Asia or North America. You had that choice, or you had that possibility, which is such an enormous difference for custom games in particular. And that's what this game really needs. It needs the custom game scene to give a shit, because the custom game scene in many ways defined
The
Warcraft
light
3.
is my strength.
Like we have so many things, tower defense games,
For
MOBAs.
honor.
We had an entire genre that's
A
really
sound
popular, or
plan.
several genres being created from
Is there
custom
danger?
games is such an important
Of
thing.
course.
It's not like Age of Empires
Bless
2,
you,
where it's
Prince
only
Arthas.
where really the ladder matters a great deal more. In Warcraft 3, I would say that the custom game scene
honor.
is what matters
here to help.
significantly more than the ladder
Certainly.
scene. Though I'm not saying the ladder scene doesn't matter.
Is there danger?
And we have also something like Warcraft 3 champions being used by
The
people
light
so
is
they
my
can play
strength.
games online together with others. We have lag issues, performance issues, some of which, or many of which, did not exist before the release of Reforged. It's that bad. It's so bad
sound plan.
that the very things they had improved
Of course.
in the lead up to the launch of Reforged were the very things they took out. It's that disastrous of a launch of a game.
Honor.
I mean, forget the low effort in the campaigns. Forget that. It's just like they dragged it down and they removed
I
things
stand
that they
for the
had
light.
fixed before in the lead up
Is there
to
danger?
Reforged's launch.
I'm here to help.
And so we do
light is
have
my
this
strength.
situation. I mean, there's many
here to
models that
help.
look great. Other models don't necessarily look so great. Or even if they look great, or even if they look good on their own, they don't fit within the army
For honor.
that
Those bandits stole my ledger.
that
Without
they're
I
fighting
will lose
for.
my entire farm.
And that
Please,
that is another
retrieve it from
major
their
problem.
camp.
Also,
It would mean
the
so much
cinematics
to us.
for Diablo 2, they redid or they actually remastered all the cinematics. Now, Diablo 2 has issues in its remastered version, but it is a remaster. They weren't promising us the things that they were with Warcraft 3 Reforged. Like, Warcraft 3 Reforged isn't even a good remastered. It's also not a good remake. It's neither of those things. It's this weird hybrid, but in both ways, it's worse off than either a remaster or a pure remake would have been. And it's worse than the previous version. That's what Microsoft needs to tackle. Do I think that they'll care? Well, it depends if they care about the real-time strategy genre or not. They do have one of the biggest titles in the RTS genres, or two of the biggest titles if you're considering StarCraft. Maybe we'll see a StarCraft 3 courtesy of Microsoft. But it does need some work. And they do need to put in the effort to actually make it work, make it function. And the audience is there. Like, let me make this point. It's not like the audience is there. If you can get Age of Empires 2 to have a very huge player base when you update it and bring it to modern age, you can certainly do so for Warcraft, because Warcraft is significantly more popular than Age of Empires. Nothing, I love Age of Empires, but let's be real here. Warcraft is a lot bigger, largely because of the success of WoW over the years. But they also need to tackle that. They need to tackle Overwatch. They need to tackle Diablo. There's a lot of problems that Microsoft needs to deal with. Now, they don't own Activision at this point, so it's probably, if this does happen, it's going to be years from now. It's not going to happen now. It's going to be years from now that we're going to see all of this pay off. But I do hope we do get to see that. I do hope, at the very least, to have a better working version of Warcraft 3 Reforged, where I can at least play the re-reforged campaigns, even if Microsoft doesn't put in the effort. Though honestly, maybe they should just hire the re-reforged team, because they'll do the job for them, and they'll enjoy doing their job for them. Maybe they should do that, because those guys do know what they're doing in many ways. Not in every way. Let me be clear. There are problems. But that's what happens with modders, right? They have limited resources, limited time, real life jobs, etc. So they can't devote the attention to doing this as properly as a full company could. Anyway, Costin here, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more. Hopefully there will be more. Like, that's what I really hope with Warcraft 3 Reforged, that there will be more to show for this, that there will be an effort put in by Microsoft, by Blizzard, to fix this. Activision may not have cared. Hopefully Microsoft does care.